Hello world, this game is weird. Yes, I know I've used that line before, but this game is weird right off the bat, before you've even started a new game. The first thing you'll see is Superhot Presents in the same font as that game you probably know about, right before showing you who actually made it, hi Joe, down to this option in the settings menu. And it does exactly what you think it does. Okay, so the first one isn't quite as weird as I made it sound. Superhot Presents is actually a fund for indie games, which was created by the team behind Superhot. Some of that money went to this game evidently, hence the logo. Still, weird if you're not expecting it. Frankly, if you've seen anything about the Procession to Calvary, or indeed any of Joe Richardson's previous efforts, such as Four Last Things or The Preposterous Awesomeness of Everything, weird is to be expected. For those unfamiliar, expect a stream of consciousness, offbeat, off-the-wall, balls-to-the-wall, mad lad romp of silliness told entirely through Renaissance paintings. Basically, it feels like what would have happened if Terry Gilliam discovered Newgrounds back in the day. Mind you, I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Richardson at Adventure X, and he's less outwardly mad in person than you might expect given this. Anyway, disclosure over, the game is available on Steam for Windows, macOS and Linux, costs about £8 and starts something like this. You're a sword-wielding maniac who carves a path through their enemies, at least I assume that's their enemies, in truly magnificent fashion, all the way to an occupied town, ready to bring the entire war to an end by yourself, only to be told some bugger beat you to it. So, no more war means no more murders. But you want to do murders. It's your thing. But it's an era of peace, so says Immortal John, the new king, and peace is pretty much the polar opposite of murders. Mind you, there is the former king, Heavenly Peter, you know, the one that was deposed mere minutes ago. You're not explicitly told to go murder him. In fact, His Royal Highness Immortal John more or less tries to talk you out of it. Doesn't stop you, of course. You hear opportunity for murder and your boots are already on. So that's your goal. Go do a very specific murder, because there's a severely limited pool of people you can get away with murdering. So yeah, one of those games that doesn't take itself too seriously, or possibly at all seriously. I mean, the developer cut up Renaissance paintings and animated them like a high frame rate version of South Park. Serious isn't even on the table here. Still, unlike other examples of this quote-unquote random zaniness style, it's not relied upon entirely. There's actual jokes in here instead of having the character saying something random TM and calling it good. There's also some reference humour, parody and fourth wall breaks that you probably already guessed were in there, but are nonetheless worth mentioning directly. Point is, there's actual writing here instead of relying on being random. I possibly found this funnier due to simply being in the mood for this kind of game, or perhaps because it was made by a fellow Scotsman, I don't know. Certainly the style isn't used as an excuse for back-asswards puzzle logic, although that does happen a bit towards the end. The game at least attempts to signpost those solutions to you though, it's not using zaniness as a crutch to excuse a lack of effort. In terms of the puzzles you solve, well, you find items to subvert obstacles, you talk your way around characters or do them favours. It's a regular point and click game that happens to have some very hat-stand writing behind it. But in a good way. I'm not selling this to you, am I? Well, I'll cover the gameplay for now and come back to that point later. You left click on things to get a coin interface. That provides you with look, talk and use options, whereas right click will sheath and unsheath your sword. That'll turn your use icon into a sword icon, and you can figure out how that gets used for yourself, but it does mean you won't be able to applaud any passing minstrels until you put your sword away again. Now, the game does give you the chance to use that sword on quite a high number of characters, after giving you several lines of dialogue saying that you probably shouldn't try it or should at least save your game first. Speaking of, you're limited to 1 autosave and 4 manual save slots. Given that the game took me around 2 hours, that's probably enough. 2 slots to alternate your main save between, 1 for let's see what happens when I kill this character, and 1 for Sunday best maybe, I don't know. I still question why there's a save limit at all, but for the length of the game it's a pretty minor complaint. In any case, I like that you get the option of murder, even if it only shows a unique animation, doesn't lead anywhere, and will in fact force you to reload or restart. Nevertheless, options are good. You don't get to warp through exits either, but you can run if you double left click, that ain't nothing. Plus there's that wonderful running animation. Now, what I hope to do in these videos is give you an idea of what it's like to play a game. In this case, it's a combination of your standard point and click fare, solving puzzles, running errands and so on, along with pushing forward just to see whatever daft thing the game wants to throw at you next. And I don't mean that dismissively, I mean the game has something silly and funny and entirely non-serious to show you, and you're wondering how it can top the previous bizarre thing. If you're in a giggly mood one evening, this game will probably work for you. Assuming you find the £8 price to be worth roughly 2 hours of gameplay. Seems on the high side to me, but that decision is really down to you. You're not playing this to tax your brain or to experience a deep layered narrative, you're here to have a giggle. That's the purpose of this game, and I think it does the job rather well. A simple enough premise, which results in a simple enough video explaining how simple it is. And yeah, not much else to tell on that one. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, you know what to do. YouTube has buttons, whatever they are this year. There's also my Patreon if you enjoy these videos enough to contribute money. I've also got a Twitch channel now, which I sporadically use and will hopefully get into a bit more. But thanks again, and I'll see you again soon.